taking everything I've learned from being in media and now putting it in digital, I really think it comes down to 3 little words. And those words are, why not you? Why not you? Why not everyone listening? That thing that's in the back of their head that you've never done or never even told anybody you want to do? Why not you? Instead of why me, it's why not me?
Welcome to the Prosperity Playground, the podcast where business meets energetics, strategy meets soul, and prosperity becomes inevitable. I'm your host, Anna Lozano, mom, founder, investor, mentor, and energetics in business expert. This is your weekly activation to rewire how you think and feel about wealth, success, and personal power, because it's not about working harder, it's about regulating deeper, aligning stronger, and receiving wider. You don't hustle for your future, you calibrate to your higher self. Join me weekly for high-level conversations with the world's most inspiring entrepreneurs, creators, and thought leaders. True prosperity isn't just about money. It's about alignment, freedom, expansion, and embodying your worth. Welcome to the playground. Let's build your most prosperous life. Welcome back to the Prosperity Playground podcast, and thank you so much for choosing to spend your time here with us. Today's guest is Beth Nydick. She is the media strategist entrepreneurs call when they're done being visible and are ready to get paid for it. A former TV producer turned interview to revenue whisperer, she teaches leaders to turn podcast interviews, panels, and talks into high-ticket client pipelines through her Mic to Millions system. Known for her blend of boardroom brilliance and Jersey level real talk, Beth's been featured in Oprah Magazine, Forbes, Fast Company, Inc., Entrepreneur, Business Insider, The Drew Barrymore Show, and more. Matcha latte in hand, she's on a mission to prove that the real flex isn't being known, it's being known for results. In this episode, we dive into why most podcast interviews fail to convert even when the conversation is good, how to turn a podcast interview into a 10K business asset, not a one-time appearance, and a live PR and visibility coaching moment for launching a new brand. You definitely don't want to miss it. If you're ready to start doing visibility that actually converts, Beth has something special for you. Head to Instagram and DM Beth the word Anna. Her Instagram is at Beth Nydick, and she'll send you a bonus that's connected to today's conversation just for the listeners of the Prosperity Playground podcast. And of course, if you love this episode, do me a favor, please share it with a founder friend who's been doing all the things to be visible, but wants to finally start getting paid for it. We hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as we enjoyed recording it. All right, Beth Nydick, welcome to the Prosperity Playground podcast. I'm so pumped you're here.
Oh my God. I'm so just happy to be with you. Are you kidding me?
So fun. Okay, so I gotta spill a bean. So I first learned about you and your work listening to Earn Your Happy with Lori Harder. So that was an amazing episode. Love Lori as well. She was actually guest one on the pod. So that was an amazing yes from her. Yeah, and I was like, okay, this lady is onto something, because I am one of those women who have been on, I don't know, hundreds of podcasts since 2019. And it was always a brand awareness strategy in my mind. Right. And then you come in and are like, okay, each episode should be generating revenue. So I'm really happy you're here. This podcast is intentionally speaking to founders, product-based founders, and service-based providers. So I'd love examples of both as we dive in. But first and foremost, let's dive into your story. So the journey that brought you to the here and the now, I'd love to hear the background.
Well, I think the first step in that journey is me having a big mouth, to be completely honest. Like, you know, I'm from Jersey. Everyone knows I'm from Jersey. But like my first forte into really having my voice was I was in the Comedy Store in LA. Jay Leno was on stage and he started making fun of my girlfriend and I. And he was like, what are you going to do with that communications degree? And I was like, I'm going to have the corner office and you're going to work for me. It was literally my answer. Like in a comedy club. Like that's balls.
That is ballsy. I love it.
And then I later got the chance to really work for him and understand what it was like to have a narrative and understand what it was like to sell a story, because that's what, if it's a talk show, if it's a podcast, if it's a stage, it's selling a feeling, because media is about feeling. Marketing is about all the other stuff, the fears and the pain and the information and education. But when you come to media, it's about feeling. And when I got further in my career being a TV producer, I worked on things like, MTV Movie Awards, the Music Awards. I worked at NBC for a long time. And I really understood the back end of what was happening, why people were coming on, how the money got integrated in what was going on, meaning ads, how people were showing up, what the prep was like. And then when I dove into being on Digital Person in 2007, I really... OG. It's I've done a lot of different things and sold companies and did everything in between. But the way that I've always gotten my products, which was a food product at one point, which is a cookbook, and now my digital products and what I offer now in services, was really about telling that story so that people could understand how to tell their own. How to show up in a way that resonates with people. Because what you and I are doing right now is performing. Yeah. It's not performance, but we're performing in a way that tells our story, that makes us open, that allows the space for us to be vulnerable, so people can resonate with us and want to come into our circles and our lifestyle and what we're doing. That's why I share that I love matcha every day on my Instagram, right? Like, that's why I share my kids are graduating college, but taking everything I've learned from being in media and now putting it in digital, I really think it comes down to 3 little words, and those words are, why not you?
Why not you? I love that.
Why not you? I just said it to my son, literally 5 minutes ago. I'm like, why not you do that?
Yeah.
Why not everyone listening? That thing that's in the back of their head that you've never done or never even told anybody you want to do. Why not you? Instead of why me, it's why not me?
Yeah, so good. So what do you think? Let's look at my mindset with podcasting. So it took me a while to become a host, because I had this thing, like, I'm a generator. I love to respond. There's less prep. Like, this is an investment of time, of money, of resources to actually have a show that has an intention of becoming a top show that is monetized, etc. And so for me, it was easier to just, put on some lip gloss and show up as a seasoned founder / entrepreneur. But the mindset again was brand awareness versus conversion, because now thinking back and speaking out loud, I felt like conversion would feel like ick. At the end, they're like, well, where can we find you? What can you share? And it just never landed. Like, it didn't resonate. No. But now you're saying, like, why not me? So there's this piece of resonance. So I'm on a show, I'm sharing my story, I'm sharing my passion with the intentionality, the frequency behind it being add value. Why haven't my podcast necessarily converted to clients? Although, let's just tee here for a sec. They did convert to products sold when I had a product-based company, because we were showing up and sharing the founder story, the intentionality, and how this product can change your life, which did convert to products sold. Now, in this space of former founder who is going through an identity shift and figuring out her mission, I'm like, okay, well, now I'm answering my own question. I'm not really clear on what I'm selling, to be honest. That's what it is. It's not clearly defined, because my heart is in product business. That's why I'm going back into product business. But is that maybe the missing gap? Like, the lack of clarity? Coach me.
Yes, it's definitely lack of clarity, and it's not about adding value. And that's what most people think. I'm going to come on, I'm going to share my story, and that's going to convert. So I believe that when you were converting into sales, it was because you were talking about the transformation of your product.
Yes, and what
how people were using it, probably the customer service, the reviews you were getting. Beth, this one person ABC'd with HDF and edited, right? Like that's why when we're on shows for me and the service provider, like I'm really talking about how my clients converted from people listening to people buying their products. How this one was on 3 shows and then used those shows to get contracts from past people who didn't buy from her, right? How we use, because it's not just the interview, it's all the things we're learning and we're using around the interview. But one thing stuck out to me that you said before, about prepping for an interview. So prepping for this interview, I listened to a whole bunch of your interviews. So I understood what your style was, what questions you might ask. You know, a lot of people have like those last questions.
Oh, we got those, girl.
Questions at the end. Right. What the cadence was. You know, your vibe is not this like hardcore hustle, right? Like it's more relaxed. So I knew how to show up in your energy so that I could match your energy. So the people listening, because they come for your energy,
right,
would like the match of my energy.
Yes.
Right. And then what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, when I'm saying it. And the back end of it is then how am I promoting it? How am I using it? Awareness is great, but I want you to also think about sales and credibility. Okay. Because having Lori Harder as your first guest, that credibility that offers you is something that I would want you to use more.
Yes. Okay.
So that you could get, high level guests like me on the show all the time.
I love that. Okay, so let's break it down from a host perspective and then to a guest perspective. So host perspective, the interesting thing is I have so many women asking me, like, how are you bringing on these thought leaders, these high level guests? So my truthful answer, one is yes, of course, the strategy of once you have your first guest with a big name, you're able to leverage that. That's just a simple strategy.
Yeah.
But more than that, I have been personally building relationships with the first, I would say, 25 guests for years. And so, looking at Lori Harder specifically, I'm an investor in her Glossy company. I've been at her events. I've bought her books. I was a raving fan from the early network marketing days, and we started building this online relationship. So when I showed up and said, hey, I want to invest financially in your company, that deepened that relationship. And so then when I said, hey, I'm launching a podcast, would you be my launch guest? It was an easy yes. And that's kind of the story. I look at Kate Northrup and I have known each other since 2013, and I share these stories at the beginning of each podcast. And so I'm not cold messaging guests, right, fingers crossed, hoping that they're on my pod. There is depth in relationship building and community building. And I feel like moving into 2026, this is a golden ticket. Like, get into communities. You and we were just chatting. So yes, I first heard of you on Earn Your Happy. So initially I'm like, okay, well, Lori believes in her, and that to me means she's credible. But now we're in the same Mixer Mind community moving into 2026. We have a whole bunch of mutual friends, and so an easy connect. You could have just said, hey, I don't know, Ellen, Heather, Ashley, Chantel, tell me about Anna, right? So there's that easy connection. Yeah. And so that as a podcast host. But now looking at, so say another founder has been on hundreds of podcasts, but they simply have not converted. So let's talk about going from visible to getting paid, and like how we break this down so founders can start implementing this, because they're also investing time in bringing their message to shows and being on shows.
Yeah, I think one of the first things, but I want to commend you, because that's the way to build your podcast, right? Is bring your friends. People ask me all the time, well, how did you get on Lori's podcast? We worked together. How did you get on this podcast? I've known her forever. How did you get on this podcast? She saw me on Lori's podcast and wanted me to be on hers. But it's about the relationships, because I love everyone listening, but the Amy Porterfields of the world is not having you on.
Yeah.
Unless you have a relationship with her. Jasmine Starr is not having, when she does ones with, with other people. Yeah. Jen Gottlieb, like those women who have those top podcasts, they're doing it with people who are in their circles and who they trust and have relationships with. Yeah. So if your goal is to be on one of those podcasts, then start being a raving fan now.
Yes.
And if you're a listener and you don't have your own podcast, great, go be a raving fan of those people as well. But who else can you be a raving fan of? Anna. You can be a raving fan of Anna's, and maybe you can be on this platform next year. But I rarely go on a platform that I don't not either connected to them or they're a friend of mine. In complete transparency, I'm now starting my planning for second quarter 2026. Yep. And I made a list of all my friends that have podcasts that I haven't been on in a year. And I'm going to DM them, hey, how can I get nicer than that? Like, hey, I'd like to be on. How can I get in it? Right. But I'll actually spend some time looking and, but my friends who I've texted 2 days ago, be like, hey, I haven't been on your podcast a while. When can I be on? That's really what I'm doing. Yes. But it's the relationships. So once you have that, you're getting on the platform, the first thing I want people to think about is the listener. Because as much as I adore you, I'm really talking to the people who are listening to us. I'm not really having a conversation with you. Yep. So when you have a conversation with the audience, and I mean really think about who's that man or woman listening. Are they in line picking their kid up from preschool? Are they home as an empty nester? Like my kids are in college, right? I'm not sitting around at 4:00 doing homework. Right. But I might be listening when I'm taking the dog for a walk and I'm doing laundry. So really going back to who your IDC is and think about what their lifestyle is. Because if I'm a busy mom, and honestly, sometimes it makes me crazy. They're like, I want to really help busy moms. I'm like, okay, let's try. Right. But if you're talking to a population that is doing laundry while listening to you, what are you saying enough to get them to put the socks down, pick up their phone and look you up, or remember your name once they get home after walking with the dog or stopping with the dog? And what are we saying that's going to be disruptive enough to their brain for them to go find you? Because if it's just like, oh, that was such a nice conversation, like, okay, next. So that's usually what happens.
So that's what I was going to say. Is this when they're nexting, where it's just not like, it doesn't make them pause in whatever it is that they're doing? Right. Huh.
And that's what going back to, it's performance. Like, I want your energy to be more than, like my kids would always say to me, like, you could become like mom 2.0 when the green light goes on. I'm like, but that's what media is about. Yes. If you see me on national TV, I'm like a Looney Tune, right? Like I'm really big. And I think the biggest mistake people do is they don't think about how they're presenting themselves. They're really thinking about, how do I give a good interview? How do I show well? How do I show them I'm an expert? The worst thing that I hear all the time with my clients before we start working together, after I would kill them, but it's like that first question you asked me, right? You're like, so tell us how you got started. And if I said, well, I help small business owners, like, who cares? I would, right? I'm going to go to the next podcast already. I'm not going to listen to the entire conversation. But when I start talking about the Comedy Store and Jay Leno, right, that's like, oh,
she's credible.
Not only is it it's a credibility marker. And I don't know about you, but I think entertainment people is cool stuff, right? So they might listen further into it. We really need to think about how they're consuming and what's going to be interesting enough to get them to act. It's not so much to be smart, like I said, or an expertise. It's got to be more than that. They have to resonate with the feeling you give them from your conversation. Like, oh, I want people to DM me, be like, you're so cool. Like,
right.
I want to hang out with you, right? Like, that's what we really want.
I love your Jersey accent. You're hilarious. And you helped me make $10,000 after that media appearance or podcast interview. Yeah. Okay, I love that. So resonance, number one, storytelling, number two, something that's going to hook them in, matched with credibility, is huge. And now give us the juju. So how are we making the $10,000? And also, I'd love to know, as a host, like, I want to support my guests to make more money by being on the show. That's only going to support me in bringing more high-level guests onto the show.
Well, you do a lot of it already, like the form I had to fill out. Yep. So we knew what we were talking about. Yes. You knew what I was promoting. You knew where I was going. So facilitating that conversation is kind of your job. But Anna, I have to also tell you, you're good at this. I listened to a whole bunch of your episodes. Well, you are. You know you are.
Like, coming from you, like, girl, you're like on all the
No, you really are. I appreciate it. I would have said no if I didn't think so, because so many people, you've been on platforms where like, this is not going well.
Oh yeah.
this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, oh, how do I get out of this?
Right. And it's like, for me, that thought is like, okay, this is so, and I will simply not refer someone in my network to be on the show. Right. So for me, it's like a lost connection if I don't have a good experience.
Or you take control of the conversation. That's where I was going to.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
It's like, if it's not going the way you want it to go, or you're not asking me the questions that you need to be asking me, I'm going to still guide the conversation so the people listening know what my offer is, know who I work with, know where I'm going. And you set that up in your intro. You're like, this is for product people and service-based providers. Great. That's exactly who I talk to.
Yeah.
Right. So you gave me the footing for that. And I want people to really have when you're on a podcast, to have that conversation. So somebody knows by listening who you are, what you do, without you being like, well, I'm a service provider and my product is Mike to Millions and I help people give great interview and make 10K, right? Like that's versus like weaving into the conversation a story about my client who got to do X or how I got to do this, or it's not just do these 10 things. It's about like you said, the resonance of all of it and giving yourself the credibility that you're the one to listen to. Because that goes back to what you said earlier, and you talk a lot of that on the podcast episodes, is the mindset of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's like, well, I'm just going to show up and give good interview. I'm like, no, I'm going to show up and give good story and give good connection. But I was talking to a client recently, and she was on a podcast that she called me like frantic. She's like, I did what you said. And I was like, okay, great. What did you do? She stopped the interview in the middle of the interview.
Okay.
She said to the host, like, this isn't going anywhere that makes me feel comfortable. Would you be okay if we restarted? This person said no. And she said, well, thank you very much. Then I'm going to sign off because I'm not interested in going forward with this. Wow. She probably said it much nicer not as nice as I did. I don't know which one. But she was calling me to like thank me for giving her the permission, because this is a platform where it's a collaboration. And if it's not working for both of you, it's okay to get out. But when it is working, the listener can feel it. Yeah. The listener can be like, oh, like I love when I'm on with somebody like you, because like we're fast friends on DM, right? And there's that energy that goes back and forth, and people feel like they're just listening to girls talk.
Yes.
Or women talk, right? They're just listening to us have a conversation. Yeah. And that's how you resonate with a prospective client, educate them on what you're doing, but really allowing them to see who you are, so that afterwards you get that DM. Oh my God, I heard you on the podcast. I need to talk to you. I need to work with you. That's how you're making money from the podcast, because they're understanding who you are, what you're about, what you serve, how you serve, but really who you are.
I love this so much. It's so valuable, because yes, if you're following your format, what you're sharing right here, it's naturally going to lead to, versus it being a hard sell, because the hard sell, there's no resonance. It just, anytime you're being sold to, instantly we put up a barrier, right? Like getting on those like sales calls and you just feel so awkward, and you know there's going to be like that hard pitch. Like I come from those sales. So I used to have executives in the room and I would sell them like, put the newspaper down, $100,000 worth of advertising, and my role was to close on the spot. So I'm fully trained on that, and it gives me so much ick that don't do that. Follow the method that Beth is speaking of, is through storytelling, and that will naturally convert because of that frequency and resonance piece, because it's a no-brainer. And this is what happened exactly to me when I was listening to you on Earn Your Happy. I was like, well, fuck, I've been on so many podcasts and you know, I want
you got to make it work.
Episode to convert to $10,000. So like, or more, you know, whatever that number is. I love that you put a specific number to your talk. And that's what this episode is going to be called. Like your next podcast appearance, allow it to support you in making $10,000. Wait, I have it named way better than that, but I'm not going to switch off. But anyways, I already selected,
no, it's okay.
selected the name.
It's that how to...
Yeah.
But it's how to tell a story, right? What I teach in my program, Mike to Millions, which is a service program which helps you really create your convertible episode. The story is just a piece of it, but it's not just telling a story. When I told the story about Jay Leno, I dropped you in the room.
Yes.
Right? And I could have gone deeper, right? The smell, the cigars, because it was the 90s, you could still smoke inside, right? The drink I was drinking, right? I could have gotten really tactical into it. And I think, I keep saying I think, but I'm like, I know. As I keep saying to myself in my head, like, don't qualify, right? We all do that. But when people are telling a story, they're telling an overview. And that's one of the things I worked on with Lori. Like, she was doing a time, first I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Give me the moment in the kitchen. Give me the moment that you found out. Give me the moment that happened, that you got the call, whatever that thing was. That's the real hook. And then take me on the journey. Bring me into the conflict. Give me the resolution. And then the solution to that better be your offer.
Okay.
Instead of... Go ahead.
Can you give us specifics? So I want to know, like, whatever you can share in terms of clients. If someone's selling a mastermind, if someone's selling, a de-bloat product that's in the CPG space or a skincare, or like, if you can share exact examples so we can feel it, so we can get in the room with into this conversation.
I'm thinking what's a good one. Like, I had a client who was a stylist.
Okay.
And her stories would always start in the closet. She was in LA, she worked with very high end. She couldn't name the people she was working with, much less I sign a lot of NDAs for people that don't want, they don't want anyone to know that they worked with somebody like me.
Yes.
But she came to me with the same issue. Like, I can't say what A-list celebrity I work with, but I can still talk about what happened with them. And she would always start in the closet. So she got known for closet stories.
Okay. I like. But was this
so every time she came on
from working with you? Or this is what she was doing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, this was from working with
Love
me.
It. Yeah.
She turned it into like a social media thing whenever she was doing it. But it was always like the feeling of in the closet, that desperation and that frustration. She would talk from the place of like, nothing fits, everything fits, I don't know what to wear, I'm going to look stupid. She would really start with all of the feelings that her clients would feel.
Yes.
And then she would talk about the transformation she did with a client. And when I tell you, people lined up to work with her because she would resonate so intimately. Could she be standing there in her underwear and after 3 kids and all the things that happened and, on and on and on. But that's what I mean by like dropping me into a piece of your story that really shows me who you are, what you're made of, and how I can make that transformation. Because it's all aspirational based in truth. Too often we're taught to like tell a story and make it this and make it that. No. I want you to tell me, like, I love the best is when somebody cries. Like, let's cry in the podcast, right?
Yes.
When I was working in, like, I did the same thing too. I did high-end travel sales for my parents for a long time. And if I made them cry, they would spend more money.
They would spend more money. I love that.
They would spend more money.
Oh my gosh. And if we can bring them into that moment, I had Jillian Harris on the podcast, she's one of the top Canadian influencers who's like, she just changes product-based founders' lives. And I cried as the host simply because I just took myself into the moment of when she was sharing the story of being on The Bachelor and how much pressure she felt being on that show, and how after that she had to make a decision if she continues. And so as she was sharing the story, I started crying because I'm like, if you had not gone through that moment, you would not have all of this impact that you have today, like goosebumps, on these product-based founders. Like, she literally changes like lives for female founders in Canada. And it's like, you had to go through that hardship in order to have the impact that you have today. And I'm like bawling in like first 5 minutes of the story. And I mean, I don't know if she's had training,
like,
but
perfect.
Right?
I hope she's had training. A lot of those Bachelorette girls have had some media training, and which I consult with TV people, and I do media training for on and off screen, that kind of thing. But I think it's really telling the real story versus the business story or business the founder's story. I was actually on. I love TikTok. I know, but I do. I can't help it. And right now, all my TikTok is about selling your script. I don't write scripts, but I digress. It was about this woman who has a pocketbook line, and her whole carousel was how she got there, like how she got herself press, and her whole 600-foot apartment is all boxes. And like, I physically felt that feeling when I was 25 and I had this like a side business of pocketbooks with my sister, and I could bring myself back to like what she's doing. Oh, I just got goosebumps because I feel like I can say this on this podcast. I wouldn't say this on every podcast. Like, I wonder what I would have been able to create if I was 20 years younger.
Oh,
right. If I was like 30 right now,
yeah.
Because I'm an early adapter to all this stuff. A lot of women my age aren't as tech savvy as I am, and there wasn't the availability to do what we're doing right now. 20 years ago, when I started in nutrition space, right? Like, when I had my kids, so I just felt so deeply. I DM'd her and I was like, anything you need, like any help you need, like you want to have a media conversation. I just felt so strongly, and that was a TikTok.
Wow,
like, that wasn't anything. It was just her story on TikTok. But it reminds me, and I want to remind your audience, that's what I mean about a story.
Yeah.
It's not about how you created the glassware line. It's like, what are the nights that you cried yourself to sleep because they said no 16 times before you found the right manufacturer?
Yeah.
That's the story that I need to hear to understand what it is. Like I slept on floors when I was trying to be a TV producer and a movie producer, or I would go days without sleeping because we were shooting overnights, or like, right. I've been on some parenting podcasts recently and really talking about the perils of podcasting, the perils of parenting, a Gen Z when you're a Gen X.
Right. So
having those different conversations.
In terms of the stories, so do you have a set number of stories? Because obviously the stories you tell on a parenting podcast and the one that you do on this podcast speaking to founders is different. So have you curated these stories, obviously not curated in a fake sense, but obviously they're your stories and lived experience that based on the podcast you're going on, which stories you're going to share? That's question one. Question two is, how many are in your bank? Okay, so now, okay, which stories, how many stories are you pulling out in this podcast, for example?
Right. So I like to have 3 or 4 convertible episodes, which I call them, for each type of episode, each type of show I'm going to be on. Okay. So a lifestyle show, a business show, depending on what I'm going to be on. And I usually have a bank of 15 for the year.
Okay.
Because what I'm doing is testing. Okay, listen. I'm testing to see which stories resonate or don't resonate. The Leno story is always my great opener. I get lots of DMs from that one.
Okay, so so you measure based on the response, like DMs, DMs, I would say.
DMs or emails, depending on the person, because there's no way to really ROI a podcast interview. So there are a couple ways. Telling the same story to see what the response is, the CTA, you can funnel the link and tag and do all that kind of stuff. But my best story was my Dr. Oz story. And the reason I know it's the best is because I was telling it all year on podcasts. This was last year. I'm going to bring it back because it worked last year.
I want to hear it now.
Different this year. I'll tell you in a second. And I was teaching a class later that year, and somebody in the chat wrote, "Hey, can you tell the Dr. Oz story?"
Wow.
And I was like, oh. And then all these people were like, "I love the Dr. Oz story. Tell the Dr. Oz story." And I was like, really? Like, you're listening that much? And that's how you really know if a story is working for you or not. So the Dr. Oz story is, I answered a Harrow, and Harrow was this listserv, help a reporter out. It was like looking for guests. At that time, I had been a health coach. My book had not come out yet. I was just like a Jersey health coach mom kind of thing. And I answered it. The producer called me right away. I remember standing out on my porch and I was like, this is going to happen. So I go in, I'm making avocado deviled eggs with Dr. Oz.
Wow.
On set. My name's on the Chiron, my website's on the Chiron. I had spent the night before perfecting my lead magnet and uploading it and publishing it and getting ready because I was going to have all of this traffic. Well, I luckily did have all of this traffic. What I didn't have was my lead magnet actually published because I never hit publish.
You never hit publish.
I never hit publish. It was a one-woman show back then, so no one was checking. And I was on such a high that 3 days later I went to look and I was like, I'm going to have 1,000 new followers or 1,000 new.
No,
Zero. Zero.
How much do
Because
you
my
think?
lead magnet wasn't on. So they would put their email in, but nothing happened.
What would you estimate that cost you?
Oh, probably $100,000.
Holy fuck.
Like, at least.
But you're on Dr.
but-
Oz and you get to share the story. I really feel that was the purpose of it. God was steering you here.
And because I knew how media worked, before I left the set, I had a conversation with the producer who was like, you were amazing. You had a great segment. We loved you. He loved you. I got a picture with him, everything. So I said to her, when can I come back?
Love.
And she was like, actually, you know what? We're working on this new program. It was like a detox smoothie, blah, blah, blah. Would you like to be an ambassador for it? Yeah, I'd like to be an ambassador for it. So I ended up being on Dr. Oz like 3 or 4 times. But what I did, and this is the killer, I called, because at that time, it was 2015, 16. I literally called the studio and found out who was in charge of social media, and got on the phone with Eric, who was the social media manager at that time, and asked him if I could contribute weekly articles to their website. And I did that for about 2 years.
Yes.
And again, goes back to my earlier Leno story. It's all about asking for what you want.
Yes.
And instead of saying to myself, well, why would Eric want me to be on his social media, be on the website and be on the social media? Of course, Eric wants me to be on the social media. Of course, he wants me to do that kind of stuff. Why not me?
Why not me?
So it all brings together, right? Brings some more credibility. Dr. Oz is one of the reasons I got a book deal for my cocktail cookbook in 2017. But it really, I think, shows to an audience like, oh, she asked for what she wants. She's got balls.
Yes.
And a lot of people say to me after hearing my stories, they're like, I feel like if I want to do hard things, I need to work with you to do them. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it works. Because we're going to do hard things. Because doing this, if it's easy for you, you're doing something wrong. This should be a little difficult. This should be work, something you're planning, something you're creating, because this asset that we've now created today is a business tool. It's a business asset that I'm going to be using for the next 6, 8, 12 months. It's not a one and done, thanks so much, I'll put it in my story and let's move on.
Yeah.
It's really about the relationship that now we have, the relationship I then can create with your audience, and then how do I bring you into my audience so we can have a relationship for the next forever years.
So good. Goosebumps. Okay, so let's go through that. So how are you going to leverage this episode?
So what I usually do, and I tell my clients to do, when this is over, we could do a little Insta Live. Hey, we just finished recording, blah, blah, blah. I'll let you know when it comes out. The morning that it comes out, I'd love for us to go live on Instagram, talking about the podcast, not talking about what we said in the podcast, but teasing the podcast. Right? It'll be on my social media. It'll be in my email marketing. I'll put it in all my communities. But then I'll also continue using it. Yeah. I'll continue using, like if you go to my Instagram, which is Beth Nydick on Instagram, you'll see I had my episode with Lori in May. You keep seeing that all the time, right? And I'll put this one in rotation. So it'll be there all the time. So it's not something I'm using for now. It's something that I'll continue to use. And I want everyone thinking about it this way. When you have your next launch, how can you use all of the visibility you've already garnered in 2025 to help you with your launch in 2026? And it's not about you publishing this episode. It's me having 5 or 6 episodes that I can then republish with my audience, that I can reuse with my audience. I can take the sound bites from it. Like there's so many things to do, but that's like the minimum what I want people to really thinking about doing, to use this as a tool and not just some visibility activity I did today.
Yes. Okay. So, and this is insane. And obviously I'm not going to name drop anybody, but as a host, I would say, okay, 33 episodes published. There's been a handful who haven't even accepted collaborator posts.
I'm like, I know what you're going to say.
Haven't
Isn't that so disappointing?
It kind of hurts
So
me. And this is just me being like really raw and honest, because again, I put in so much heart, preparation, research. Well, most guests I know, but I want to make sure that the conversation is guided and intentional. again, all of it behind the scenes to produce a podcast, to not even accept the collaborator post. Okay, don't even worry about my feelings, but like the missed visibility opportunity, I would say more so.
And it's shitty.
Thank you.
It's just shitty to do. Like, why come on and waste my time? Like, so I had a podcast that I had 2 years ago. I stopped doing it because I like doing this better than being in charge of it. And there was the woman who helped establish Mind Valley.
Yes.
So they pitched me to be on the podcast. Great. I accept it. But then I'm starting to do my research on it. She doesn't promote the podcast that she's on her social media, nor in her email. So I went back to her publicist and I said, unless she's going to be promoting this, I'm not having her on, because that's a criteria.
Yeah.
And I thought her head was going to explode, this publicist. How dare you? I was like, how? So I said to her, why is she doing visibility without promoting her visibility? She was like, well, I don't even remember what her name is. She's so-and-so. She doesn't need to do that. And I was like, she an A-list celebrity? You see them on Good Morning America, Today Show, CBS This Morning, Oprah, Tamron, right? They're on all the shows because nobody cannot promote. So that's really disappointing. I wish you would well, maybe when we have coffee together next time I'm in Mexico, you'll name names, because I do think we should start shouting those people out. I'm in a mood today, to be honest.
I love it. I love your mood.
Actually starting. I am actually starting my own late night talk show for entrepreneurs. It's going to start filming in February in New York City.
Oh wow! Okay, live.
Yeah, live. I'm excited about that, and I kind of want to name names. Just saying, just kind of want to name names. As long as I don't get sued, but I kind of want to name names.
Oh my God. Okay. I love it. And I'm coming.
Well, Anna, because you see, like, that's so disappointing. And there's so many people out there that I know are not who they say they are, right? How many coaches people have gotten burned by this coach, and people like you and I and your clients, like, I work so hard to have integrity what I'm doing, to really serve, to really make people understand what I do and what I'm about. And when there's so many bad actors, it makes it tougher for us. And for you to have that many people not collaborate, it's about them and not you, and that sucks.
And I'm almost wondering, like, again, I've worked hard, and I don't like the word proving, because that's been work that I've been working on with my hypnotherapist, and in a sense of like, I don't need to prove myself. I know who the fuck I am. No. I'm a 16-year, seasoned entrepreneur, and I've had insane guests on this pod. And so it's like, yes. and behind the scenes, me and my team work on promoting it over and over again, right? So it's like, right. There that energy exchange is not there. And so I'm like, okay, is it part ego that maybe it's not the biggest podcast yet? Or like, what is it? I don't really have the response for what is it, because I know for me personally, if I say yes to be on your show, then it is only in my best interest, like you were saying, to share, to leverage the tool, the asset that we've created. And so I would rather say, like, don't say yes to podcasts if you're not going to mutually collaborate, because it's not serving anybody.
No, don't tell me you're too busy or your team did it or whatever. That's not you having real relationships. Like, that's transactional relationships. And Anna and I are not into that.
Yeah, no, we're not.
We don't do that kind of thing.
No.
But I want to go back to something you just said, because I've been having this conversation with myself, is like, I don't have anything to prove.
Yeah.
I just don't have anything to prove. But I think that it's been, for the last 6 months, it's kind of been like, that was always my shining light. Like, I was like, I'm going to do more. I'm going to be more. I'm going to get out there more. And now I'm kind of like, I don't need to do that stuff. I like what I'm doing in my thing. Yeah. But finding where that hustle comes from, I'm struggling a little bit with doing that without having something to prove. So my strategy for that is just be on more platforms, is to be in public more, is to shoot more. I'm going to be on a couple TV shows. I'm going to do my TV show. But I think that I'd love for us to have the conversation and for maybe start the conversation in our communities about, like, we don't have anything to prove at this point. And not just because you've been in this for 16 years, just because who you are and you're successful this year.
Yeah, I love
that. And right, and everyone else that's listening, like, we shouldn't have something to prove to keep us hustling, to keep us going, or have anything to prove because we're women in the world.
Yeah.
So when we remove that layer, because I also think that's a layer of safety.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm going to be the thing, right? And then when we remove that layer, we can be more vulnerable. We can be more open. I just admitted to the world, like, I'm struggling with something, in my life. And I think the more that we talk about that, because we're seeing the shiny. I made 6 figures in 6 months, right? I sold out my mastermind. I didn't tell you I spent $450,000 on ads, right? Like,
Yes.
if we have more of that honest conversation, and that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to in 2026, and maybe dropping names, is really having those honest conversations, because there's nothing left to prove. I don't need to save anybody. My kids are both graduating college, so that probably has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
It's a new era in my life. And I think it's like, I don't give an F, or as my husband likes to say, like, you're the problem and you don't care.
Yeah.
So I was going to go with that.
And this is it. And also when you come, so for me, like, I don't remember which year, but like, I just knocked down the pedestals, you know, for me, it's like, I just want to have a really good community with good-hearted people and great conversations where the mutual goal is expansion and growth. And it's like when we align, and I'm going to get a little woo here, but with the laws of the universe, everyone wins, because we live in an abundant and overflowing universe. And so it's like that kind of takes away this like proving energy. It's because we're worthy just because we are, and no explanation needed. And so it's like, if we're not resonating on that and it is transactional, well, then it's not a match. And so I would love for, like you're saying, having more of these conversations, but also we just feel it. Like, we know who's of resonance. We're going to be in each other's lives for a long time. I totally feel it. This is probably the most casual conversation that I've had, because, and it might also be because I'm not an expert on this topic. Like, when I'm speaking to product founders, and that's something I've done, you know, it's more of like, I don't know, this is like, you are fully the expert on a topic that clearly I have not. Like, I've got
you have good instincts.
I've got the visibility, but I have not monetized it well. And so I'm like, okay, let's soak this up.
Work on that.
So I'd love to do, actually, I did have this planned a little bit, but a little bit of a case study. So my next chapter, 2026, I'm launching a pickleball brand. Now, the pickleball brand is not to compete with like the Juulas of the world. It's really to bring community together, really create like a women's lifestyle and connection brand. And so we're going to do that through events. And of course, there's going to be products on the other side. Right now, I'm like, God, show me the product that's meant to disrupt this industry, because like so much is already done. But I'm like, I'm just open to seeing what problem I can solve. But beyond that, it's like an epic lifestyle and connection brand for women who that's powered by play. And the play is pickleball. So I hired you, and this is like, this is a goal, but okay, right now I hired you. So I'm back in startup mode. Like, yes, there's that seasoned founder story on the back end. So if you're my PR and visibility coach, where do we start? What do you advise me?
We start with why pickleball? Why play? Where does that come from? Let's start with like, how did play show up in 11-year-old Anna's life? That's where I would start. Right? Like, how has play grown in your life as your business? Because you could start with we should all be playing, and it should, you know, whatever that conversation is. But when you can start at 11-year-old Anna, and then maybe like 18-year-old Anna, and then let's get into business out of college Anna, who started this business, who was selling newspaper ads, right? How did play show up in her life going forward? Then we can create a complete picture of the journey we want the people listening to take with us.
Okay, brilliant. So the interesting thing is I remember my dad, who is a Polish immigrant, or Polish immigrants in Canada, made me play ping pong. And trust me when I say I did not like it. I was really fucking mad at him that he made me play these ping pong tournaments at a Polish community.
Oh, you were
center.
good.
I was good.
You were good then.
I was good. The gratitude I hold now, because there are some skills that I have now brought, you know, as 41-year-old Anna onto the pickleball court. So I'm like, thank you, Dad, for making me play ping pong tournaments at a Polish community center when I was, I don't know, maybe 12. However, I forgot to play, and it took me years. It took me really 2022 when I sold my product business to come back to self and start trying things. So I tried so many things. I tried kite surfing. I tried dancing on the beach on Tuesday mornings in Mexico. I tried, all the yoga and meditation. I tried the sound baths. I tried breath work, and those are tools I have in my toolkit. But none of these things gave me the feeling that pickleball gives me. And I am fucking obsessed. And I want this feeling for every woman who's also an athlete in her everyday. She's an athlete in motherhood. She's an athlete in her business. She's an athlete in all her relationships and her health.
Ooh,
I want her to
like
experience this athleticism.
Ooh, I like that imagery of like athlete in parenting, athlete in life, athlete. And I don't need to be an athlete.
No.
Like an athlete, I don't need, I have to chill. That smells money to me right there. But like, it really does. Okay, because you know me, I get excited about this kind of stuff. So like, this is what's happening in my brain. So like, if we were in an interview, give me 1 second. Let me just think about it. I'd be like, what's the name of the brand?
Maya Pickleball.
Maya. Is that somebody's name?
My daughter's, my oldest daughter. Yeah,
Aww.
Maya. And we live in the Mayan Riviera part-time. So it just kind of went, I was like, now I'm obsessed with it.
If you were on an interview, I would probably do something in the vein, like, this is off the top of my head, but something in the vein of like, I have to take you back to 1990 something, right? When you were 12.
Somewhere, yeah.
Somewhere. I would give a number, sorry.
Okay, 96.
Okay. It was November 1996, and my father dragged me to that freaking hall one more time. He made me play ping pong. Beth, you don't understand. Does a 12-year-old girl want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go play ping pong with her dad at the Polish health center? No, I didn't want to do that. But as being a founder today, I literally have the
Me
chance.
too.
Thinking about what that taught me and where I lost that feeling of like, it was adrenaline and it was ambition and I wanted to make him proud. And like, honestly, Beth, I was freaking good at it. But I lost that along the way to really establishing Mayan pickleball or Maya's pickleball, because like everybody listening, I did the sound baths. I laid in the forest, right? I laid on that towel in the forest with all the ants crawling on my feet, and I sat in that hot yoga room and tried to do the sound bowl, and I did X, Y, and Z and whatever it is, but what I really realized is that we are athletes in all parts of our businesses and all parts of our lives. And if we can lean into that, then play just comes naturally, right? I'm an athlete with my children. I'm an athlete with my husband. Well, he likes that. So that's my son. I'm an athlete in the boardroom. And now I want everyone else to not only feel into how they're an athlete in their life, but how play can really dovetail into that to make a life that's not only so full of ambition, but it's actually full of play and fun.
Goosebumps.
So good. Like, that's what I mean. Like, right. You take me on the journey of where it came from and where it got, but give me points to hold on to. Like, cause who else hasn't been in that yoga room when you're like, I'm going to try hot yoga. And then you're like, what am I doing?
Oh my God.
Here?
And then you make it Ashtanga and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Right. I've left before, right? Or like, I did the forest bathing.
Yes.
It was like,
yep.
And there were ants all over my blanket. It was so gross, right? Like, but picking what those points were and bringing that on. So that when people are listening, they're like, I want to be a part. I'm an athlete, right? Like, I can see the collateral. Like, I can see all of it when you're talking about.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, you're hired. So let's do this. I want to go to like zero to 7 figures quickly. So like, let's do this. This is amazing.
Okay.
But
I'm in.
Oh my God. Okay.
I play pickleball.
You do?
I do. I'm not very good at it. My eye-hand coordination is not the best.
But you play.
I try.
That's all that matters. You play. And oh my gosh, I could list you 100 reasons why I feel every woman past 40 should play pickleball, but I don't want to, niche down too much. Like, so even, 20-year-olds to like 80-year-olds play. But there's so many reasons. And for me, it's like also being in this discovery of like feminine, masculine energy. Like I love my masculine energy when the ego has been dropped, right? So like I started saying, like the pedestals have been pushed down, knocked down. And it's like now it's like this essence of this masculine, empowered Anna, that side of me, she gets to be cultivated on the court, and I fucking love her. And we get to have this duality. So, oh my gosh, we're at 50 minutes. I could keep talking to you, but I'd love to move into rapid fire. But before that, is there anything that I missed that you'd love to share?
No, I think that have any conversation with you is a perfect conversation, but I really appreciate like that you allowed me to have a piece of it where I just got to like play. And that's what you just did. You're like, go play, see what happens.
So good.
So I appreciate that. And that's my favorite thing to do, is to really see people where they are and help them create that story around it so they can convey that information without feeling weird about it, but feeling inspired by it and having an aspiration to be like, hell yeah, this is going to be a 7-figure company next year. Let's go.
And I think this is really the key piece of your work is we have to remember that it won't be salesy when it comes from the heart. Because I think that's the biggest fear that women hold is like, okay, well, I'm doing this visibility thing, but I don't want to sell anything because I don't want, all those stories that come into mind, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I feel like that's the evidence that you just showed us. So I really appreciate it. Good. All right. So I have a problem with rapid fire because I like to answer. So my goal is to zip it and just ask the next question.
I know, you're so
like
funny.
A true rapid fire.
All right.
All right.
I'm ready.
One visibility strategy that looks impressive but doesn't actually make money.
Being everywhere and being nowhere at the same time.
One sentence.
I have a friend who's on 5 podcasts every week. I think it's a horrible strategy. I told her, but I think it's a horrible strategy.
What would you do?
It's not about volume. It's about quality. It's quality.
The right podcasts.
It's not how many can I be on? It's like, let's be on 8 to 10 amazingly targeted, talk to our ideal client podcast audience in 2026. And that's all. That's all you need.
Okay, that's huge.
I know that wasn't rapid fire. Sorry. No. Okay, go on.
Oh my God. Okay. One sentence every founder should be able to say clearly on a podcast.
The answer to tell us about yourself, how'd you get started, that 12, because the 12-second opener either makes or breaks the episode.
Biggest mistake guests make in the first 5 minutes of an interview?
I work with I. If you can count 50 I's in your interview, you did a bad job.
Fastest way to establish trust on the mic?
Be honest, be yourself, be vulnerable, be messy.
Thought leader you'd love to have dinner with?
I hate thought leaders. Hate thought leaders. Not into the thought leadership. I think we should all be digital personalities.
Okay, digital personality you'd love.
Digital personality that I really love right now. That's a hard one for me because there's so many amazing people that I would love to talk to and love to be around. You know who I'm really loving lately is I can see her. What's her name? Oh, see, you got me. See, it's not Reese Witherspoon. It's her partner.
Oh.
So I like Reese Witherspoon a lot, but and I always think like when it's coming from celebrities, it's really who they're partnering with.
Yeah.
Or like Jessica Alba partnered with somebody for Honest. Oprah partnered with Sherry Salata.
Right.
Reese, I don't know who she partners with, but I really like the breadth and the depth of what they do. They started this little book club that has now made her millions and millions of dollars, but also made millions of people happy with the books and also with the products that she puts out in the world. I like watching it because she's quiet about it. That's why I like it.
So digital personality versus thought leader too.
Yeah, I don't think thought leader means anything. I think it's one of those things we were sold. Yeah. It's like your messaging sucks. That's why nothing's working, right? There's all these like idioms that we've been sold. And I think that to really compete in 2026, we have to compete with the reality stars that are getting their own platforms. We have to compete with the celebrities that are now coming into the product space. Who did I see? Courtney Cox is coming out with a room fragrance company.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So how is she going to sell it? She's going to go on podcasts. She's going to go on platforms and sell it. So it's competing with personalities. And what I mean by personality is I do want to know what you drink in the morning. Yeah. I do want to know the color of the fabulous lipstick you're wearing. But I don't need to know your deep, dark secrets and how you parent your children, right? It's picking those pieces of our personality that we're allowing the world to really see so that we are multifaceted and we're not just about our business.
Love it.
That's what it means to me.
Podcast you'd love to be on that you haven't been on yet?
Lewis Howe.
Yes. So good.
Yep. I would really like to be on his podcast.
There, named it here first. Do you play pickleball? You already answered that. Love.
I do.
And finally, what's your definition of prosperity?
My definition of prosperity is connected to possibilities.
Yeah.
Right? When there's more possibilities in my life, the prosperity is unending.
Yes.
That's how I feel about it.
So beautiful. Okay, tell us, how do you close? What's the best CTA moving into 2026? You close off the show, please.
Oh, Anna, I don't normally do this. But because I adore you and everyone listening, thank you so much for spending an hour with us and really listening to us and really, I hope, learning a lot. I'd love you to DM me the word Anna on Instagram at Beth Nydick. Don't forget to like me as well. But send me the word Anna and I will send you something that I will just send your Anna's audience for listening today, just on the back end, because the conversation we're having, it's connected to the conversation we had.
Yay.
So you can guess what it's about. But I'd love for you to DM me the word Anna and I'll send you something special just for you and your audience.
So good. Thank you so much. And we do that on Instagram. So your Instagram is Beth Nydick. Thank you so much for your time. And it's truly been a joy and a pleasure. Thank you.
Mine too. Thanks so much, babes.
Thanks for joining me on today's episode of the Prosperity Playground podcast. If this conversation sparked something in you, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts so you never miss your weekly activation. If you enjoyed the conversation, please rate and review. Your feedback helps us reach more souls just like you who are ready to calibrate to their most prosperous life. Know someone who needs this frequency boost? Share the episode to Instagram and tag me at _Anna Lozano so we can grow our energetically aligned community together. And please remember, true prosperity is about alignment, freedom, expansion, and embodying your worth. Start today. I'm Anna Lozano, and this is the Prosperity Playground. See you on the next activation.